Morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Euromechanical podcast series. I'm Mike Purkis. I'm delighted to have Neil Urquhart from Reactive Downhole Tools and Darryl Johnson from Silverware Energy with us. Morning, guys. Yes, starting us off before we get into the discussion on partnerships. Neil, can you tell us a little bit about Reactive and your journey here and what you do?
Yep. Reactive Downhole Tools, provider of downhole equipment, specialising in swellable packers. We are based out of the UK, headquarters in the UK, and we previously manufactured in the US. When we entered Abu Dhabi back around 2013-14, we'll get onto the topic of we were looking for partners to allow us to grow that business. We were very successful in what we've done over that period of time. We became the dominant supplier to ADNOC locally here for swivel packers. And we've grown the business such that we now manufacture packers here with local content, manufactured in Abu Dhabi and supplied to ADNOC, but also exporting that technology now around the world from Abu Dhabi. So it's come online to complement the US plant, which is still in place.
Perfect. Thank you. Darryl, can you give us a bit about Silverware?
So Silverware Energy is a provider of surface-controlled gas lift systems, intelligent gas lift, so to speak. We focus on intelligent completions and all-electric equipment. We started business here in Abu Dhabi around 2015, was our first foray into the region. And we quickly determined that for us, we needed to establish a working relationship locally. And we've actually taken that model and we've used it elsewhere in the world, Southeast Asia, Latin America, West Africa, etc. So we tend to thrive off the model that Neil just spoke to. We're a small team, 58 people globally. Our main manufacturing facility is currently in Houston, Texas. And we've just put together our plan, our business case for building a manufacturing facility here in the region. And that's our next step. Our ambition over the course of this year next is to transition into manufacturing and exporting equipment from the UAE.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I guess one of the key pieces we want to talk about today is partnerships. And I guess to just start with why. So Darryl, I guess for you guys, why go down a partnership route?
We had a little chat yesterday, but if you remember, I said, when in Rome, do as the Romans. Well, that's great if you've been to Rome, and that's great if you speak Roman. But if you step off the plane and you don't know the lie of the land, what do you do? As a small company, it's not like we're a big company with an established footprint globally. You look for local resource. You look for local partners that can help you navigate the ways of that particular area. In case it went here, we came to Euromechanical quite early on. Actually, Euromechanical made an acquisition, of course, of our original agent, but Euromechanical led us through what I would call the halls of ADNOC. They allowed us to navigate through, let us, helped us understand what it was we needed to achieve in order to be able to do business with ADNOC. From a footprint perspective, local business visas, work permits, all of those types of things managed by yourselves, even some of our payroll, for example, much easier to do it through yourselves than us establishing the company here on our own. And we stuck to that model pretty much throughout North Africa, West Africa, Asia Pacific, and Latin America. And we'll probably carry on with that model for another few years.
Great. Thank you very much. Neil, from your side, similar or any differentiators?
No, I think it's the same sort of aspects. Ultimately what we're trying to get to is to a market. We're coming, back when we entered, we were coming out of the UK and the US and into the market in Abu Dhabi. And we weren't here. We have a product which we can stand behind and we understand there's a need for it, but we need a way to facilitate that technology to someone who wants to use it. So we need to make sure we get that message across. So and then once somebody wants to use it, we then need to partner to let us get the product, physically sell it, mobilize it, store it, and get it to the rig site ultimately. So that's what we look for, accessibility to the customer.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I guess, Darryl, just throwing it back to you, what do you look for in a partner or a partnership? What are the kind of key success factors?
So that's interesting because I think it's for us, it varies where we go. We have certain expectations, right? In some places, we just want people that can open the door and let us walk in and we'll do most of the work ourselves. The majority of our cases is such that we have our own sales team, we go in, we sell it, we do the operating piece, we install it in the ground, we provide the after-sales service and support. There are places in the world where I expect a little bit more, where I'm looking for somebody to do the technical sales for us when we're not in region. So there's a balance between what do I expect. So in Southeast Asia, I have technical sales and support, and they're out in front of us and they speak on behalf of us. Here with Euromechanical, because we're just up the road, we do what we need to do from a technical sales perspective and customer interaction, and then we use you for all of the, what I would say is the stuff that's not forward-facing with regards to getting tools in the ground. In Nigeria, we have a different model, right? We just needed access in, and we needed to avoid the pitfalls that you fall into in West Africa, and we have a great agent there that looks after us from that aspect. So it varies on where we're at in the world and what our expectations. We set the expectations with the agent when we get to them. So this is what we want you to do, and we're very clear about what we want and what we expect.
Thank you. Neil, from your side?
I think, what you're talking about there, Darryl, it is very important, and the end is how you get the end product out there. But I think when we were first looking for a partner here, and I'm making this very Abu Dhabi centric because we're at ADIPEC, we're looking for transparency and ease of business. We are a pretty small company. We're privately owned. We don't have huge bureaucracy to run through massive approval levels. We want to be dynamic, and we need a partner that's going to be working along with us in that. We've got, for us, we want someone who's aligned with how we operate our business. So you've got different agencies, for example, that are huge in their scope, and they've got hundreds of salespeople, and they're on every rig. But you're coming into that as a small piece of it. Are you going to get attention? Are they going to actually prioritise you? So for us, it's making sure we find somebody that's got that ease of business, there's collaboration, we're both on the same page, and then we can start to work on, okay, now we're aligned, how are we going to get the tools in front of the customer, and ultimately how are we going to get them into the market?
So I guess transparency, cultural fit, making sure there's a technical fit and appetite.
Yeah, it's like you said, cultural fit, because it's a bridge. You're trying to bridge for where we come from with where we're going into, and that's what you're looking for, a link to allow you to get into that. And I think, especially in this region, the cultural aspect of it is hugely important, and making sure that you present yourself, your dialogue, your communication, your presentation is all aligned with what you expect. And the great thing is that's different globally, all over the world. You have to adapt, and having the right partnership will help you do that.
No, I agree. Yeah, that's very key. That is adapting to the region and picking the right partner and understanding their cultural values as well before you get into it.
I think just picking up on that point, and this is ADNOC centric, Abu Dhabi UAE centric, and that's where we are. That's where we're strong. But I think I would just reinforce that the cultural fit and making sure you both sit down before you go into anything and say, this is what success looks like for us, has to be one of the first conversations, because we've seen a lot of partnerships with Euromechanical, but also in the region and in the market, not go as successfully as, quite bluntly, the Silverwell and Reactive partnerships have gone for us. Because I think, Darryl, to your point, you were with Samco and transitioned in, but I wasn't here at the time. I'm sure there was a conversation of, look, this is who Euromechanical are, this is who we are, what we do, sort of thing. And it's making sure you have that conversation first. That I'm cognizant of the people that are going to be watching this may not know Abu Dhabi, may not know ADNOC, may not know the market. And it's a very different market, and both you guys picked up on the same point of what fits here doesn't necessarily fit in other markets. Is that a fair?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I would say what fits here doesn't fit, in Saudi Arabia, doesn't fit in Egypt. It's very distinctly different. Every time we jump to a different country, different region, there's a change. And you can't jump thinking you're going to carry one model into the next region. It's just not going to work that way. Mm. You need to back up and think.
Absolutely.
Plan before you jump.
So I guess touching on that then, and I've alluded to the fact that you guys are sitting here with us, obviously things are going relatively well. Do you want to tell us a little bit of some of the success stories that you guys have had? Neil, throw it to you first. And it can be Abu Dhabi centric or just in general globally through your partnership.
We'll talk about Abu Dhabi just because I live in Abu Dhabi. I've been here through the whole process of the partnerships with Euromechanical and then our growth. But fundamentally, you've got to make sure you can have the right partnership. But there's got to be a market, right? So we're fortunate in that Abu Dhabi is one of the biggest consumers of our products. The way that ADNOC drill their wells, they complete their wells. makes them want to use what we have. We could have the same product and be back in the North Sea, and unfortunately, the volume wouldn't be there to get us to the same success point we've had here. So we've approached Abu Dhabi because we know there's a market. That's initial, and then through the partnership, we've made that bond with Euromechanical, and then the bond with ADNOC, and that the bond came as a process. We've built trust over a number of years, and it's grown. We now supply to most of ADNOC's assets, if not all of them. And as I said, it got us that far that we moved from manufacturing in the US to having the discussions. And ADNOC were involved in these discussions, which is the interesting part of it. They want to promote growth. So you're in the right place, and the right appetite to growth also exists. So, we made the facility here. The facility here is 30,000 square feet. We've just expanded further. We've implemented office space, and as well as having the capacity to make our packers, which are very niche. We've introduced CNC capacity, pressure test, assembly, storage, mobilisation to the rig site. So now we're expanding further than what we actually entered with. And what we're looking at doing alongside Euromechanical is, can we facilitate other people's business? Because you can't do what we've done in every country. And that's a challenge that we're seeing, that you go, as you said, what happens here doesn't necessarily fit even next door. We go to Oman or we go to Saudi, they want you to manufacture locally as well. But unfortunately, the reality of a company of our size is we can't. It doesn't make sense economically. But what we can do is we can all work as a partnership, and we can, Reactive could promote as a hub for Abu Dhabi, and then we're going to look for a reciprocate agreement for Saudi, where they can manufacture for us and provide a local content. So I think we've built this hub, and we now export. It's not just Abu Dhabi. To be very clear, we now export globally. So it's a huge success for us. But it doesn't mean we're suddenly successful in the region, because we then need to go and find the next agreement and the next process, and make sure we're working in each country as they need us to, which is a challenge, but it's a good one to have.
I think there's two key points pulling on that and it keeps coming up. But the first one is, it takes a long time. This is not a quick route to cash. Like it takes time to get the trust, takes time to build the partnerships. The reward is there, but it is not. It is rare that it is an overnight thing. This has been years. I guess, Daryl, throwing it over to you. Any particular success you want to talk about?
So it's interesting, right? So you're right. The sales cycle is long in many of these NOC companies, and for us, we're not nearly as advanced as my colleague here, but we're chasing, right? And it's a good lead, because we can take lessons learned from them and apply them to our business. And I think we have a good relationship between the two companies. We respect one another, and ultimately there's probably another step we could take together in the not too distant future. For us, we're really a new technology, and we came here, and we've had some successes, and we've had some hurdles to overcome. And so what I would say with Euromechanical and ourselves is quite different. Mm-hmm. We've come to Euromechanical when we've had equipment failure, right? And we've had them guide us through the holes to make sure that we get the right message to the right people all the way throughout. Very transparent. I would say that what you need to be, and what I find is not always the case with companies, in particular certain competitors. Transparency is lacking, and they like to redact before they walk into a room. What we learned through Euromechanical and ourselves is transparency. If you want it to work, be transparent right off the get-go.
Yep.
We're at a point now, an inflection point with ADNOC, and we're committed to being here. We've got some nice work coming up in 2025 for the company that we're really proud of, and it's going to be a springboard for us. And I think we're going to leverage Euromechanical more as we go into this. And I think even yourself, when you talk about your manufacturing capability and your storage and your operational capabilities, I think there's the relationship between three of us that will need to work together. So when I look at unique success stories in moments like this, I think the one that stands out to me is not necessarily here, and I know we're at ADIPEC, and I know we're Abu Dhabi Central, but During COVID, we had a unique situation. We had a well that we had to install in Southeast Asia, and it was complicated. We couldn't get people there. We did many things, commercial flights, we looked at private jets, we looked at everything to get our people from the UK to the US into the region to get the installation done. The installation was complicated at best. It was a dual completion well, highly complex, high deviation. It was the ultimate challenge. And we were back against the wall. So we talked to our local partner. They had a strong team that had been putting PDGs in the well, permanent downhole gauges, for those of you that don't know. And we decided that we were going to train their people remotely, and we were not going to have anybody on location from Silverwell. And we trained the team, and it was a big team. We trained the team to go out offshore and conduct that installation. And they did it without any of us being there. And that was a real moment for us. That's when I knew I had a good partner with me, right? I knew, from relationships and we know this people and that people, etc. That was a real moment, right? To be able to take their team, educate them via a Teams meeting daily. Our team were up at midnight in the U.S. We were teaching them all day during the day. And then ultimately we went and executed a flawless well for them. That was a moment. That was a success story.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I guess one thing you guys have both touched on, and it's the collaboration piece. So, as Euromechanical, we're the Abu Dhabi hub, and we are the connecting piece between you guys. But then if you all sit in your own silos, then, Daryl, you're not going to know what Neil's capabilities are. You might not know that he's got the CNC machine and things like that. So it's touching on that. What's your view on collaboration? Does it work? How does it work? Is there any way we can shortcut it and go quicker? Daryl, throw that to you first.
Yeah, so so it's interesting. So you have a lot of principals that sit around here below us. And I don't know them all. I know these guys, right? But I think there's probably more work that could be done. And I get some of us are not in the same domain. Understand that. But even there, I think there's probably value if I will sit and talk to you as Euromechanical. Maybe once a year, we have a technical one-day session with all the principals in the same room.
Yep.
We give each other a brief on what we've achieved over the last 12 months, what we're doing elsewhere in the world. And then we can look at each other and ask a question. Well,
Yep.
Is there more we can be doing together? I think that would not be a bad thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. I think we can offer a differentiator that's got a greater value than we can do on our own as a team. And again, to chuck it back to ADNOC, they don't actually buy swell packers; they buy liners. So we need to align ourselves with companies that are going to help us complement the tools that we have, and then that package is passed on to the customer. And when you're building that package, again, it's another relationship that you have to go and build, and that one's probably more aligned on a technical, commercial front. You've got to make sure you're complementing your tools with stuff that's of the same standard. You want to make sure you've got success. So, absolutely, we can build value by combining, and we're all pretty, we're smaller companies. We're not a Halliburton or Schlumberger. We need to work together so that we can create a value from the sum of our own pieces, and present that to the customer.
I was just going to say, I think customers are looking for more single point accountability in their wells.
Yep.
They don't want to deal with 40, 50, 60 vendors, right? They're really trying to narrow that down so that they can come and put the finger in your chest if you do bad and hopefully shake your hand if you do well, right? So I think to that point, the more that we can package up things amongst ourselves as a group and even under the Euromechanical umbrella, I think the better it is for us here in this particular area, operating arena.
Yep.
Great. All right, so I guess kind of wrapping up, for the people that are watching this from out with the UAE, they're looking at coming into the UAE, I guess some of the key themes, whether it's UAE or elsewhere, for a partnership: transparency from day one, have to be aligned on cultural values. Neil, you made a really good point there about size as well. You can't have David and Goliath. It kind of needs to be a size match. And then Daryl, I think you made a very interesting point. It's going to take years to build the trust. It's going to take years to live and breathe your values. When everything's going well and everything is easy, it's easy to have a really nice partnership. It's when you have an issue, and let's be frank, we're at the kind of advanced, cutting edge stage of operations and technology here, so it's not all going to go perfect all the time. But that's really when you see the partnership, because that's when people show their true colours, and then are people living their values? Are they being transparent? Are they continuing to engage?
Yeah.
No, I agree. What you want is a partner that's not going to run away when the train wreck happens.
Yep.
Right. Yep. You want that partner that's going to shoulder up to you, and you walk in together, unified. I think is the key. And I've come across both. Right. We've come across both in our world. Mechanically, you guys have been stellar, superb, and couldn't fault you in any shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I guess, so wrapping up, guys, is there anything you want to add as a final closing comment? Neil?
Just to recap, just to add a little bit on what you said there, is if you are coming in, make sure you've got that alignment, but make sure there's a customer, make sure there's a market at the end of it all, and find that out quickly. Don't waste your time, because it is a long sale here. It's not an overnight success. Don't waste 12 months getting qualification and find out they don't want you. Make sure you try and get that out over the line quickly. And if it's not there, evaluate, is it worth the time? But once it is worth the time, just make sure you got the right partner to stand with you, because they will be the face of your product to ADNOC or to Aramco or to PDO. So make sure you've got somebody that you would trust to stand in front of you as if it was an employee, a representative of your own company.
Yeah, following on a little bit there, I think, understanding the market, understanding the agent, establishing like KPIs and what we expect out of one another as we go forward. But the other piece of that is, it's great if there's a market and there's lots of wells to be had, but if there are certain caveats that come along with that market, ICV, for example, and you're not capable, and that's a long way off in your future, you need to take that into consideration very quickly.
Yeah.
If you can't play in that market, you need to just accept the fact that that's not for us right now. We're not big enough, right?
Yeah.
I think that's because people jump in, they sign relationships. They're very difficult to unwind once you put them in place. And once you commit, and then you're fighting an uphill battle. It's one thing to fight an uphill battle, pushing new technology into a market that you know is there. It's a different beast altogether when it's got certain caveats attached to it that makes that climb much more difficult.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Very interesting discussion. Absolute pleasure. If anyone wants to come and see us at Euromechanical, we're in Hall 12 at the Decarbonisation Dome. Thank you.